Let me recognize Senator Cotton, please.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your testimony. General Clarke, on January 20th, President Biden and his National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, issued a directive that withdrew authority to conduct certain military operations outside of Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan from our combatant commanders and reserved it to the White House itself. Has that affected operations, Special Operations Command, or is that simply affecting our regional geographic combatant commands?
Senator, I'm aware of that, of that as it was reported in the open source. I would respectfully submit or request that we talk about it in a closed hearing.
Okay. It has been confirmed by the National Security Council on the record, but I understand the hesitation. Maybe I'll ask Mr. Maier, do you know the problem that decision was designed to solve? Because it's not apparent to me what problem was raised by having combatant commanders or their subordinate commands make the decision to conduct military operations outside of Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq. And let's just get down to brass tacks here. We're talking primarily, I think, Yemen, Somalia, and the African Sahel.
So, Senator, I think it's meant to be an initial review of this administration and the use of a series of different actions that, again, we should probably talk about it in closed session. But I think, like a lot of the reviews that are underway, already alluded to, everybody on this committee certainly knows about Afghanistan, Somalia, the posture hearings and reviews that are underway. Those are all part of an overall series of looking at what has been done and whether this administration would continue to proceed with those.
Okay, we'll discuss it in the closed session. Again, this has been reported and confirmed by the National Security Council. To make a point, I'll relay a story the past president told me. I don't think he'll be offended if I share his thoughts. He said early in his administration, he was doing some reading late one night, and he got a call from an action officer about approving a strike. And his response was, well, what do they expect me to know about it? Don't they have some captain on the ground near this country that has been following this target and knows that this is a bad guy and that we should conduct this strike? And I agree with that sentiment. General Clarke, I have the highest confidence in you and in General McKenzie in Central Command and General Townsend in Africa Command to know whether or not we should smoke a bad guy overseas. And that doesn't need to be decided by civilians at the White House. General Clarke, I want to turn to Special Operations Command and something we discussed in our visit yesterday, and I just want you to elaborate for us on the record here. What specific changes in force design and capabilities do you believe are necessary to attain the force that you need to accomplish your mission going forward, and what do you believe are the most pressing of those needs?
Senator, in order for us to compete effectively in the future, and we have to modernize both our precision strike and ISR, we particularly have to look at data and data management so that the most specific requirements are enabled at the tip of the spear where our operators are, so that they can quickly see and sense the battlefield that they may have to be fighting into the time of crisis. And then we also have to have encrypted communications and electronic warfare capabilities so that our forces that could be forward with the joint warfighting capacity, reduce the probability for them to be targeted. So we're looking at all these, Senator. I have personally, changed our modernization priorities and restructured some of our funding to modernize those capabilities.
Thank you. General Nakasone, in the time we have remaining, I want to ask a question that may seem to be a boring bureaucratic matter to some people watching, but it's an important question that this committee has addressed in the past and that the Intelligence Committee has addressed as well. That's the so-called dual hat. In addition to being the commander of the Cyber Command, you're also the director of the National Security Agency. Is that right?
Correct, Senator.
And that is the so-called dual hat, that you command this military combatant command and also that you run an intelligence agency. What do you think are the positive things that result from wearing that dual hat?
Senator, over the past 3 years, what I've learned is being both the commander of U.S. Cyber Command and the National Security Agency is that the ability for myself to operate in both roles provides the nation speed, agility, and flexible responses to adversaries that are increasingly modernizing, getting quicker, and getting more sophisticated. We operate in a domain that changes rapidly, and this change is measured in weeks, perhaps months. Being able to rapidly react to that, as we've been able to prove in such things as securities of elections in 2018 and 2020, is empowered by that relationship.
Thank you. Thanks, gentlemen. See you in the closed session.